New to this version of macOS is a few apps that actually just came right off an iPhone. These are 4 iOS apps that have been converted into Mac apps. And this is actually a project that Apple is working on to make it easier to bring apps developed for the phone or an iPad, those mobile apps, onto the Mac and into macOS here. So the 4 apps, we're just going to quickly skim through those and show those in today's video. The first one is Stocks, and when you open up any one of these apps, you're going to get a little welcome screen, and I'll give you an overview of what these apps do. So we're going to hit Continue, and the Stocks app, as you would expect, shows a list of the stock quotes on the left column and different stock symbols there. And then on the right side, we see news related to the selected stock or index, depending on what was there. So right now we have nothing selected, so we're just seeing the top stories. But if I select, let's say, the Apple symbol here, we see a little graph on what's going on. We can go across the graph, see specific points. We get news, all information I think you would expect to see related to the stock that's here. You can definitely go in and customize these apps, change what symbols are there. So if there's one you don't want on here, we can hit the minus to remove a stock symbol, hit the plus to search for one. And if you just start typing in a company, you'll see it. So the F symbol is Ford, for example. So we see the Ford Motor Company there. If I want to add it to the list, I'll hit the plus to add it. Boom, it's there. I don't have to do anything else. I can cancel, I hit done. And if I scroll down to the bottom, there we see Ford's on the list. If I wanted to, I can edit these, and maybe I want Ford higher on the list. I can go up and drag that around, rearrange where these things are. And that gives me a list of the symbols there. So pretty straightforward. Not too much to these apps. You're going to see they're information based. You go and you read the information there. So Stocks is cool. For me personally, I do invest, so I like to have this on my own account. Very easy for me to open it up, just kind of get an overview by skimming across the symbols that are there. And all of these apps, you can definitely go in and rearrange the interface and adjust them to work better for you. So that's the Stocks app. The next one here we see is Voice Memos. And just like you would expect on your phone, you have a record button. Hit record. Now you're recording. It's recording the audio. You can see if I stop talking, the waveform goes down, and it's picking up everything I was saying here. So Voice Memos, very easy to use. And when you hit done, it'll save that in there. You can also pause and pick up recording. The names themselves, you can go in and rename it just by typing in something new there. You can also go into the preferences for Voice Memos and these other apps and make little changes. So you can actually enable things like location-based naming, which will use your location and tag the Voice Memos. So instead of it just being new recording, it would actually put the address of where I'm located or where it thinks I'm located. And you get other options there. And this one is a big one, audio quality. It by default is on compressed. If you're recording actual voiceovers that you want to use in Final Cut Pro, for example, you want to change this to lossless so you get a better quality sound. Probably you're going to be recording these directly in Final Cut with the voiceover tool right onto the timeline, but if you have Voice Memos, you might do it here as well. And another thing to point out is these apps do sync with iCloud if you have that enabled. So your Voice Memos you recorded on your iPhone would show up here, and any that you use on the record on the computer would also show up in your phone. Those sync back and forth on there. So that's Voice Memos. Next one we have is Apple News, which is very similar to the Stocks app, except instead of it showing stock symbols on the left side and news stories on the right, we see a list of categories on the left side and then the news stories on the right side there. This left column too, you can see we get some categories. So you can go and favorite some of these if you want them, or use the crossed out heart to dislike them. And you can also edit these just like you would with the stock symbols. So if I know I'm never going to want to learn about science or sports or technology, whatever's here, I just hit the minus and I can ignore those categories, which is fine. So that's what's there. And then the more that you use this app, the more that it's going to customize the stories and the information that it's providing you. And that's what this personalized news part is. So click on Discover and you can go and find in more personalized categories on there. For example, I do a lot with video editing, post-production. So the technology categories that are shown up on my side is very specific to that. I also am big into racing, so I will see things like NASCAR and IndyCar and different racing series will show up on mine because that's what I'm into and that's what the news app has picked up on. So I would definitely recommend enabling the personalization and this discovery here to find stories that are more suited for you. So out of any of the 4 apps, the news one is probably the one I use the most personally. I'm very hard to use it with anything related to Final Cut unless I want to do some research maybe. But just in day-to-day, I will use this one both on my computer and on my phone. So that's that one there. I would say the last tip, I guess, about it is when you're in a specific news story, make sure, let's go to technology, let's find a story, long-term rentals, looking through the stories. Let's do this iPhone one. So when you're in a story here, you can skip to the next story, but at the top here you have options to heart and kind of like or dislike a story. So if it's something you like, go and hit the heart. If not, you can hit the cross dot there. The more you do that, the better news gets at being able to personalize what it shows you. So that was my last little tip there. And then the last app, I don't really have a demo for, but this is the Home app, which if you have devices around your home that can be controlled, say using HomeKit, which is what's built in the phones, and now here on the Mac using this Home app, you can sign in here with iCloud and you'll see those devices. So as an example, if you have, I have the Philips Hue lights in my apartment here, so I can control the brightness of my lights, whether they're on or off, using the Home app. And I can do that from my phone. I can use Siri. And I find having the Home app on the Mac is really nice to be able to control those devices. Again, I mean, this is something where it's not necessarily needed to have this app. It's more of a convenience. So if you're in an edit suite where you do have a lot of those controllable devices around, whether they be speakers, lights, or other things, without having to get up from Final Cut and editing, you can control all of that using this app. You don't need your phone or your iPad to pick that up. You can just keep editing, just switch over to the Home app very quickly, maybe dim the lights, change them, and then do your playback using that app. So as you can see, all of these apps are very similar because they've been ported over from iOS to the Mac, and that's what these little apps are. So they're very simple. They're not anything that's too complex, but go ahead and check them out. Again, that was the Home app, the News app, the Stocks app, and the Voice Memos app. And we have just a few more videos for this month of macOS tips to come. If there's something that I did not cover or something I did, maybe just grazed over it and you want more detail about something, please put it in the comments. Let me know what you want to see in a future video.